The alien council sat around a tall glass table, their glowing eyes fixed on the giant screen in the center of the room. Human videos played, people crying, arguing, singing, laughing. Weak emotions, they thought. Soft bodies, short lives. The room filled with deep, echoing laughter. This species cannot even control its own feelings, General Zato sneered. They weep in war and run from pain. What threat can they possibly be? A younger alien commander, Kriv added. Their weapons are outdated. Their cities are exposed. A child could conquer Earth. More laughter followed, loud and arrogant. Behind them, a shadow watched in silence, one of the observers assigned to record the conversation. His fingers twitched slightly, tapping a button no one noticed. Far away, hidden deep underground in a secure human facility, a message pinged across the screen. The human general, Marcus Rain, stood in front of it, arms crossed. His eyes didn't blink. The screen showed the alien laughter on loop. He watched quietly. An officer beside him whispered, "Sir, they're broadcasting their thoughts again, marking us." Marcus didn't react. His face remained cold, unreadable. Then he spoke softly, almost to himself, "Let them laugh. Let them believe we are weak. It'll be the last sound they ever enjoy." Outside, the world felt normal. Children played in parks. Old people sat on benches feeding birds. But above the sky, something else was happening. Alien ships appeared like shadows blocking the sun in some parts of the Earth. Slowly, their massive warships began descending into Earth's orbit. News channels exploded with panic. Reporters screamed through mics. Alien ships confirmed. Dozens, no, hundreds. People ran. Governments scrambled. Most were already warned. Some had even signed secret surrender deals out of fear. The aliens smiled from space. They are already bending. "This will be easier than we thought," Kriv said, watching the feed from his cruiser. But in one corner of Earth, deep in the mountains of Iceland, Marcus stood in front of a long table. On it lay a red folder marked Project Inferno. He opened it. Inside were names, faces, coordinates, secret weapons, trained minds. People thought Earth was defenseless. But Marcus knew the truth. Earth had been preparing not to fight but to destroy. He tapped a communicator on his wrist. "Awaken the sleepers," he ordered. "Every city, every zone." A quiet voice replied, confirmed. Units activated. In a small town in Brazil, a man selling oranges dropped his cart, pulled off his shirt, and revealed a black combat vest underneath. In Tokyo, a woman walking her dog stopped near a traffic light, reached into her bag, and pressed a hidden switch. In Nairobi, a young boy playing with a soccer ball suddenly disappeared down an alley and never came out. The sleepers had lived. Among normal people for years, they were invisible. They were trained for one thing only: war, the real kind, the kind that ends with no one left to laugh. Alien soldiers, called the Velcor, landed in New York first. Tall, armored, four-armed beasts. They marched through the city like conquerors. Humans watched from windows, terrified. The commander raised his weapon and said, "Your cities belong to us now." But then, from a rooftop, a single shot rang out. The commander's head snapped back. Silence followed, then screams. Human forces erupted from the shadows from subways, rooftops, even sewers. Bullets, lasers, and explosions tore through the alien ranks. "They're ambushing us." A Velcor soldier yelled into his comm. "They have weapons we've never seen." Across the globe, the same thing happened. In Paris, alien walkers exploded. In Delhi, human drones swarmed the skies. In Lagos, alien tanks were melted by plasma mines placed under roads. The aliens were confused. How are they doing this? They were supposed to be primitive, Kriv shouted, his face pale. Zatal slammed his fist on the control panel. "Deploy full invasion units. Wipe them out." Back on Earth, Marcus stood before a group of captured alien prisoners. One of them, wounded and shaking, asked, "Why? Why didn't you fight us sooner?" Marcus looked at him. "Because we wanted you to come closer." He walked away without another word. On the screen behind him, a countdown began. Earth had launched something no one expected, Ghostfall, a global blackout weapon that shut down alien tech instantly. In one breath, alien ships fell from the sky like burning stars, powerless, blind, crashing into forests, oceans, and Deserts. Alien pilots screamed as their ships lost control. Back in the alien command ship, chaos exploded. Alarms blared. Systems shut down. We're under full sight. Earth's systems are hijacking ours, a technician screamed. Zottel turned to Kriv. This can't be possible! Kriv, once full of pride, now looked broken. We underestimated them. On Earth, civilians helped soldiers. Farmers gave shelter. Doctors treated the wounded human and alien. Children carried food to resistance fighters. The aliens had come expecting surrender. What they got was unity. What they saw was rage. Up an alien weapon and stood beside a resistance fighter. They killed my mother, she said. I'm ready. The soldier looked at her, nodded slowly, and handed her a helmet. The war had only just begun. But one thing was clear. The galaxy had been wrong about humans, so very wrong. Smoke still rose from the ruins of downtown New York. Buildings stood broken like snapped bones, and fires crackled under the dim sky. Alien warships hovered above, massive and silent, like vultures waiting for a final breath. But down below, the humans hadn't stopped breathing. They were moving, fighting, striking back in ways the Velcor never expected. In the middle of it all, General Marcus Rain stood inside a command bunker beneath the remains of an old museum. His uniform was dirty, his eyes sharp. A screen blinked in front of him, showing dozens of red dots, alien patrols. They've set up forward bases across the city. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Shaw, said, "They think they've trapped us." Marcus stared at the screen. "Then let's teach them what a trap really is." Outside, the Velcor commander Tharnax stomped through rubble. He was taller than most of his kind, his armor scarred from earlier battles. His squad followed him in formation, scanning for human survivors. "No more hiding," he growled. "We end this city tonight." But as they passed an empty alley, a flicker of light caught his eye. Too late, a charge exploded beneath their feet, launching Tharnax and his soldiers into the air. Before they could recover, bullets tore through. The smoke, human fighters wearing black armor and gas masks, moved like shadows. Not a single word was spoken. Tharnax crawled behind a pile of concrete. He'd seen war before, but this was different. These humans didn't fight to survive. They fought to erase. In another part of the city, a group of alien scouts moved through a subway tunnel. They laughed as they walked, dragging a captured human boy behind them. Is this all they send now? One alien mocked. The boy didn't cry. He stared ahead, quiet. A sudden whir filled the tunnel. The lights went out. Silence. Then came the sound of boots fast, heavy, and many. The aliens raised their weapons. One by one, they were pulled into the darkness. Screams echoed. The boy vanished. The last scout, shaking, fired into the shadows. His laser lit up the walls, but no targets. A hand reached from above, dragged him up, and the tunnel was silent. Once again, at the bunker, Marcus watched camera feeds. "The phantom units are working," Shaw said. "The aliens are panicking." Marcus nodded. "Good. Let's break them faster." He walked over to a locked case and opened it. Inside lay a small device, round and glowing blue. Shaw asked. "EMP core," Marcus replied. "Old tech, but deadly to their systems." He handed it to a soldier. "Take it to Sector 9. Detonate above their field hub." The soldier nodded and disappeared into the hallway. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the alien leader Zotel stood on the bridge of his flagship. Reports came in faster than he could process. More ground units lost, another cruiser, down Earth resistance, spreading. "We lost," comes in Paris. Again Zotel turned to his war advisor. "How are they doing this?" Their armies were nothing but scattered tribes. "Now they fight like ghosts." The advisor replied, "They prepared. Quietly, for years, and we never saw it." Zotel slammed his fist. "Then we will burn their cities until nothing is left." But on Earth, it was already too late for burning. Humanity had gone underground, quite literally, in tunnels, bunkers, abandoned metros, and hidden research labs. Entire armies had been hiding, training, building. Dr. Aisha Gray, one of Earth's top engineers, stood inside a mobile lab hidden beneath a destroyed hospital. She connected wires to a captured alien weapon. Their plasma rifles are too hot for long-term use, she told her team. We cooled the cores, speed up charge time, then we give them back at full power. A young soldier asked, "You're turning their weapons into ours." Aisha smirked. "No, I'm making them better, more human." That night, the humans launched coordinated strikes across 4 continents. In London, rooftop snipers fired in perfect rhythm. In Beijing, drones dropped smoke bombs that confused alien sensors. In Cape Town, civilians threw firebombs into alien transports. Each battle lasted less than 5 minutes. Clean, brutal. The middle of the chaos, a strange message echoed through alien frequencies. It was human, but not a voice. It was music. Old Earth music. A simple piano tune played on loop. One alien technician muttered, "What? Is this noise?" But others began to freeze. The song wasn't just a sound, it was a signal. Hidden in its code was a virus. Every alien machine that played it began to shut down. Lights flickered, weapons jammed. Ships spun out of control. On the battlefield, one Velcor general fell to his knees as his mech suit powered down. "Turn it off!" he screamed. But it was too late. The music played on. Back in the bunker, Marcus allowed himself the smallest of smiles. They thought, "We were emotional fools," he said. "Turns out, emotion can be weaponized." Shaw raised an eyebrow. "You used music as a virus," Marcus shrugged. "They watched our movies, our art, our culture. They thought it made us weak, but they never asked what it meant. That was their first mistake." Meanwhile, in the ruins of a small town in Eastern Europe, young Leotha boy, who survived the alien village massacre, stood beside 2 resistance fighters. They handed him a short-range blaster. "You sure you're ready, kid?" one of them asked. Leo nodded. "I lost everything. If I'm going to die, I'll take them with me." The fighters looked at each other, then smiled. "You're one of us now." On the alien command ship, Zotal stood alone in the war room, watching Earth spin below. He had no more laughter in him, only silence, fear, rage. A hologram of Marcus appeared before him. A direct feed hacked into his ship. Marcus spoke one sentence. "You came to conquer, but we came to end you." The feed cut out. The stars outside felt colder than ever. In the shadows of the Earth, humans prepared for the next phase. Not just defense, not just survival, but revenge. And somewhere deep in a crater, where a massive alien dropship had fallen, something moved beneath the rubble. A pair of human eyes opened, burning with blue light. Project Leviathan had awakened. The war had changed, and the Velt had just learned that humans weren't fighting for victory. They were fighting to make sure no one ever laughed at them again. Rain fell over the dead city of Berlin. Buildings stood as broken silhouettes under the clouds, their windows shattered like empty eyes. Alien drones buzzed above, scanning ruins for signs of life. Smoke lingered in the air from fires that never stopped burning. The Velcor believed Berlin was under their full control. They had planted beacons, set up watchtowers, and stationed ground troops. But below the surface, in the forgotten metro tunnels, life moved quietly, fiercely. A girl named Hanano, older than 19, sat in front of a large map inside an underground bunker. Her hair was tied back, face smeared with grease and dirt. Around her stood 6 other resistance fighters from different corners of the world. Some were former soldiers, others simple civilians turned warriors. Hannah traced a red line on the map with her finger. "Their energy core is here," she whispered. 3 floors below the eastern checkpoint. We take that out, the whole zone goes dark. "Are you sure?" a man asked, loading a magazine into his rifle. Hannah nodded. "I helped design there. Scanning tech before they invaded, I know where their blind spots are. I also know what they'll never expect." "What's that?" A teenager with a homemade EMP. Meanwhile, on the surface, an alien officer named Tars moved through a broken church with 2 scouts. His claws clicked against stone. His breathing was slow, steady. His orders were simple. Find the resistance cell, reported in Sector 9. Eliminate. Leave nothing behind. Tars sniffed the air. "Human scent," he hissed. "Close." Below, Hannah fastened a small, round device to her vest. It hummed softly. She checked her wrist. Screen 1 minute left. "Everyone in position," she whispered through the comm. A voice replied, "Roof team ready." Another followed, west tunnel secure. A third, diversion prepped. Hannah closed her eyes, took a breath, then climbed the rusted ladder up into the cold. When she opened the old subway hatch, she found herself inside what used to be a shopping center now half destroyed, covered in moss and ash. Lights flickered above. She crept past fallen pillars and broken signs. Ahead, through a cracked wall, she saw it a glowing alien core. God, I hope this works. Suddenly, the alien patrol entered, the structure from the opposite side. Tars's eyes narrowed. Energy disturbance, he growled. Something's wrong. Hannah moved fast, crawling through rubble, placing signal blockers as she went. But as she reached the final hallway, she froze. Footsteps, heavy, fast, coming toward her. She pressed against the wall, holding her breath. The sound grew louder. 3 Velcor stomped past, scanning with glowing weapons. She waited, then slipped through a vent and dropped silently into the core chamber. It was massive, 20 feet high, humming with alien energy. Wires ran like vines across the walls. She reached into her bag, pulled out the EMP, and placed it at the base. A countdown appeared. 60 seconds. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the doorway. Tars, he spotted her and roared. Human, he charged. Forward, Hannah ran. She didn't shoot. Her goal wasn't to fight. It was to survive long enough. As Tars lunged, she slid beneath a beam and sprinted through the ruins. Behind her, gunfire lit the air. She dived through a broken window, rolled, and hit her. It's done. Core will blow in. The explosion rocked the ground. A wave of blue energy blasted upward, ripping through the structure. Lights died, towers blinked off, alien sensors shut down across 3 sectors. Hannah hit the ground hard, ears ringing, smoke burning her lungs. Back at the bunker, cheers erupted. The screen showed all alien signals lost across eastern Berlin. Above, alien ships drifted helplessly. No power, no orders. Confusion spread like wildfire. In orbit, Zat slammed his fists against the control table again. They're disabling our sectors. How are they doing this with such limited forces? His science advisor, gray-skinned and shaking, whispered, They're not attacking our strength. They're striking our structure, our roots, like termites. Zottel bared his teeth. Then we kill the roots, burn the cities, and the humans, even if we burn their world with them. But back on Earth, Marcus had already anticipated this rage. Inside a command room under the Swiss Alps, he stood beside a large screen. Initiate Operation Mirrorstorm, he ordered. An officer frowned. But sir, that's not a defensive op. I know, Marcus replied. We're done defending. Hours later, in the skies over Moscow, alien satellites picked up strange energy spikes. Before they could respond, a fleet of cloaked human drones launched from hidden launch pads in Antarctica. They carried one weapon, atmospheric disruptors. When activated, they caused brief electromagnetic storms that targeted alien engines and communication arrays. In minutes, several Velcor ships began to fall from the sky like dying meteors. Some crashed into forests. Others exploded midair. One slammed into the edge of the Caspian Sea, creating a massive tidal wave. The humans didn't just strike, they humiliated. For every attack the aliens launched, they received a smarter, faster answer. Inside a crashed alien ship near Rome, an injured Velcor soldier crawled from the wreckage. His face was burned, one leg missing. But what haunted him most was the silence. No orders, no rescue. Only the Windand, a human child, standing at a distance, staring at him with cold eyes. Elsewhere, Hannah was carried back into the Berlin bunker on a stretcher. Her face was pale. Blood leaked from a wound near her side. Marcus appeared on screen. You did well? He said. She smiled weakly. Did it work? He nodded. Perfectly. She closed her eyes. Good. I want them to know what fear feels. Like, in the darkness above Earth, inside his golden chamber, Zottel stood before a star map. For the first time in his life, he hesitated. Earth wasn't just fighting, they were evolving, learning, adapting with every move. They were no longer just rebels. They were becoming something else, and the galaxy wasn't ready. The ruins of Madrid whispered with the wind. Once a city of music and light, now it was nothing but ash, broken stone, and silence. Alien banners fluttered on cracked towers, Patrols marched through empty streets, thinking the war was theirs to win, but they were wrong. In the quiet shadow of an abandoned library, a boy watched them. His name was Leo. Only 14 years old, but war had aged his eyes. He didn't blink. He didn't flinch. His fingers held tight to a weapon nearly as long as his arm, stolen, modified, deadly. 2 weeks ago, Leo's village was wiped out by Velcor soldiers. No warning, no reason. He saw the sky turn red with fire. He heard his mother scream. He remembered her last words, "Run." He did, but he never forgot. Now, Leo hid in the belly of the fallen city. Alone? No. He had joined a small group of human fighters, known as the Black Smoke, a unit trained in silence, known for leaving no trace behind. They found Leo, barely alive, gave him food, warmth, and a choice: hide or fight. He chose the second, and they trained him, not with fear but with fury. Tonight, Leo was on his first mission. A Velcor supply base had been set up in an old stadium. Dozens of alien guards, armored and alert. Human recon drones showed them offloading weapons and energy cores. This wasn't just a base, it was a war engine. If left untouched, it could supply 3 more alien cities. Inside a dark subway tunnel, the Black Smoke team huddled, 10 members, each with eyes like sharpened steel. Their leader, a woman named Reza, looked at Leo. "You ready, kid?" He nodded once. "I want them to remember me." She handed him a small detonator. "You'll be planting the first charge. Under the fuel tank, silent, clean. If they see you, abort and run. Understand?" Leo replied, "They won't see me." The team moved through the tunnel, emerging beneath the stadium's crumbled bleachers. Alien soldiers paced above, unaware. Reza gave the signal. Like ghosts, the humans fanned out. Leo crept along the rusted beams, heart steady, breath calm. He reached the fuel tank, a massive silver drum surrounded by crates. It pulsed with energy. He slid beneath it and began attaching. The explosive, 1 click, 2, 3, done. But just as he turned to leave, a shadow blocked the light. A Velcor soldier stood above him, weapon raised. "Stop," it roared. Leo froze. His hand dropped to his belt. He didn't run, he didn't shout. Instead, he threw a flash device straight into the alien's face. Light exploded. The alien screamed. Leo leaped forward, stabbed a blade into its leg, and rolled away as the creature crashed to the ground. He sprinted back to the others, blood on his face, but alive. The team detonated the charges. Fire roared through the stadium. Alien weapons lit the night. Screams echoed across the valley. Human fighters vanished into the smoke. The Black Smoke had struck again. Back at their underground shelter, Leo sat by the fire, silent. Reza approached. "You did good," she said. He didn't reply. His eyes were fixed on the fire. "They'll come looking," he said. "Let them." Far away, in a high-orbit command ship, Zottel stared at the latest report. "A child," he said quietly. "A child destroyed an entire supply center." The advisor beside him nodded nervously. "We underestimated their young. They're not weak. They're angry." Zottel turned to the holographic war map. A dozen red zones flashed areas now lost to human control. The resistance wasn't shrinking. It was spreading, and their methods were getting crueler, smarter. "This isn't war," he said. "This is revenge." On Earth, General Marcus received the mission report. He looked at Leo's file, eyes narrowed. "He's just a boy," someone said behind him. Marcus answered, "Not anymore." Elsewhere, in a ruined cathedral in Prague, survivors gathered. A priest gave out food. Children played quietly under stained glass windows that were now covered in ash. Among them, a soldier read stories of ancient warriors, hoping to remind them of bravery, of hope. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was keeping its soul alive. But not all had mercy. In the forests of Canada, an elite human squad ambushed a Velcor caravan. The aliens tried to surrender. They begged. The soldiers didn't listen. They burned everything. One fighter whispered, "They showed no mercy to our families. Why should we?" Back in Madrid, the Velcor launched a purge. They stormed buildings, torched hiding places, and killed anyone they found. But Leo was gone. already deep underground, already planning the next strike. He wasn't hiding, he was hunting. One night, he crept into an alien officer's quarters, quiet as mist. He left a message scratched into the wall in the alien language. "For my mother." When the officer returned, the room exploded. Fear began to spread among the Velcor, not from bombs, not from armies, but from one human boy who moved through the dark like death itself. They started calling him the Phantom. In hidden channels, humans shared his story. Songs were written, murals painted. He became a symbol not of pain, but of power. And still, Leo didn't stop. When someone asked him once, "What drives you?" he replied, "Their laughter, I still hear it, and I want it to stop." The aliens had laughed, but now they hid behind walls, afraid of the shadows, because Leo had no mercy, and the war was far from over. Snow fell quietly over the ruined landscape of Oslo. Once a city of steel and glass, now it was nothing but bones. Alien ships hovered above, engines humming low like whispers of death. The Velcor had turned the northern zone into a research fortress here. Deep in the icy mountains, they studied the human brain, not out of curiosity but fear. Inside the fortress, dozens of humans lay strapped to glowing tables. Wires pierced their skin. Machines clicked. Velcor scientists moved between them, recording data, scanning memories, trying to understand what made humans so relentless. They had watched humanity lose cities, children, worlds, and yet the humans didn't stop fighting. Something deep inside them refused to die. The Velcor wanted to know why. One of the prisoners, a woman, in her 30s, named Nara Voss, had been silent for days. No screaming, no tears, just calm eyes. A young alien researcher leaned over her. "You are broken. Why not speak?" Nara looked at him and smiled gently. "Because I'm listening." "To what?" he asked. She whispered, "Your time ending." Before he could respond, the lights blinked once, then again, then died. The room went dark. From the outside, the facility looked calm. But under the snow, deep in a frozen cave, a human strike team waited. Led by Captain Elias Cade, this unit was different. No tags, no broadcast, no official orders. They weren't soldiers. They were ghosts. Their mission: erase the fortress. No prisoners, no noise, no trace. Elias spoke quietly into his come. Phase 1, ready. His team moved out, dressed in white armor that blended with the snow, as they climbed the frozen cliff toward the alien base. Each step was silent, every breath timed. Elias remembered the orders Marcus had given. "We don't fight for peace anymore," the general had said. "We fight for memory, so that no one forgets what they did to us." Inside the facility, emergency lights flickered. Alarms didn't. Sound they'd been cut. Velcor guards scrambled through the halls, unsure where the threat was. In a chamber near the core, one scientist opened a control panel to restart power only, to find a human blade inside it. As he fell, appeared on the screen, "We are not the weak. We are what comes after." Elias and his team breached the eastern gate in silence. In under 4 minutes, they secured 4 floors. Doors were welded shut behind them. Screams echoed once, then stopped. Room by room, the fortress became a tomb. Nara Voss, still strapped to the table, heard the sounds approaching. Footsteps, human voices. Then a flash of light. The door burst open, and Elias stepped in. She smiled. "Took your time," she said. He moved to her side, cutting her restraints. "Tunnels are open. Can you walk?" "I can fight," she replied. The team moved fast, freeing more prisoners as they went, but time was short. The Velcor had finally called reinforcements. Dropships roared toward the base, cutting through the clouds. Elias knew they wouldn't make it out unless they acted fast. "Set the charges," he ordered. "Every floor, burn everything." As they raced through the halls, placing explosives, one soldier asked, "What about the data?" Elias didn't stop. "We don't want their research. We want their fear." Outside, as snow continued to fall, the first alien ship arrived. A squad of armored Velcor stormed the landing, but only to find silence. Then came a click beneath their feet. The entire west platform exploded, throwing fire into the sky. Back inside, Elias and Nara led the last group of survivors through a tunnel that led under the mountains. Behind them, the fortress groaned. Walls cracked. Power lines snapped. The final charge blinked red then white from a satellite far above Earth. The explosion looked like a flower of flame blooming in the snow. The entire facility vanished in seconds. Nothing left. No bodies, no records, no mercy. In the alien command ship, Zottel stared at the new report. His claws tightened. "Another base?" he asked. "Gone," his advisor said. "No survivors." Zottel paced, rage boiling in his chest. "We are superior. We are gods to them." "Why are we losing?" A low voice answered from the corner of the room. It was General Varkle, silent until now. "Because gods don't listen, and humans, they remember every wound." Back on Earth, in a field lit by firelight, Marcus stood before his commanders. A map lay between them, showing red dots where alien power still remained. "Tonight," he said, "they learned we're not afraid of death. We welcome it. If it means taking them with us." He looked at the map and circled one final name. The Sky Citadel's S-Main Command Center in orbit. "We're going to bring that down," he said, "and we're going to do it from the inside." Silence. No one questioned the plan, because by now they had stopped hoping for peace and started living for vengeance. High above Earth, the Sky Citadel floated in low orbit like a silent moon. It was the heart of Velcor Power Massive, armored, and filled with thousands of soldiers, researchers, and command leaders. From here, every major strike on Earth had been planned. Every bomb ordered. Every city burned. Humans called it the Slaughter Star. Inside the main war chamber, Zottel stood before a glowing star map. Red zones marked every human-resistant cell. But lately, the red zones were shrinking. One by one, they disappeared, and no one could explain why. Zottel narrowed his eyes. "They are not dying. They are hiding," he said quietly, "waiting, planning." He was right. On the surface of Earth, deep within a forgotten bunker, Marcus watched the Citadel through satellite feeds. "It's time," he said. "The operation begins now." Standing behind him were Elias, Nara, and a team of 12 hand-picked specialists. They weren't just soldiers, they were survivors. Every one of them had lost everything. "We don't get second chances," Marcus told them. "If we fail, there's no backup. This is our last punch. Make it count." Elias nodded. "We'll do more than that. We'll make them bleed fear." Their way in was insane, exactly what made it work. The Velcor often picked up cargo. From a neutral trading post above Mars, the human resistance had already infiltrated that station weeks ago, and now, hidden inside a large shipment of alien medical supplies, lay 6 humans packed in vacuum suits, breathing recycled air, surrounded by false scanner readings. It was risky, but it worked. Hours later, the crate was moved inside the Sky Citadel's medical bay. When the guards left, the locks clicked open. Elias and his team stepped out. Blades first, no gunfire, no alarms, just silence and blood. They moved quickly, disguising themselves in alien uniforms, bypassing scans using hacked IDs. Nara led the way to the communication center. Their first task, shut down the Citadel's long-range distress signal. Inside the control room, Nara tapped the console with expert fingers. The lights flickered, then dimmed. "They're blind," she whispered. "Let's go." Elias moved toward the core sector. Time to plant the charges, but the deeper they went, the more alien soldiers they saw. Something was wrong. In one of the dark halls, a door opened and standing inside was a child, a human child, alive. Caged, Elias froze. "How many?" he asked quietly. 37, said the soldier beside him, scanning the room. "All young, all taken from camps." Elias looked at Nara. "This isn't just a war base, it's a lab. They're experimenting on kids," she whispered. His jaw clenched. "Change of plan. We're not just destroying this place, we're emptying it." They broke the locks, gathered the children, and led them to the shuttle bay. Nara radioed Earth. "Get ready for evac. We have hostages, small ones." Back in the Citadel, alarms finally started to sound. The Velcor had discovered the breach. Zottel stared at the warning screen. "How?" he growled. "They're here." More lights turned red. Explosions echoed in the lower decks. Fires spread. Security feeds showed humans with weapons, guiding children to a stolen alien ship. Zatel grabbed his weapon. Seal the station, kill them all. But it was too late. The human team had already planted thermal charges across the fusion drive chamber, the heart of the Citadel. It would take just one push of a button to turn the station into a fireball. Elias watched the countdown begin. Then the unexpected happened. His cum crackled. A voice, Captain Elias, this is Marcus. Abort the blast. Elias blinked. What? Why? Marcus's voice was calm. The children, they have something, an infection, engineered. Alien. What kind of infection? A memory virus. The Velcor injected thoughts into them, traps. When they grow older, the virus activates. It spreads ideas false loyalty to the Velcor. They planned to use them as human spies. Years from now, Elias looked at the kids. They stared. Back, confused, scared, innocent. Nara whispered, they don't know what's inside them. Elias's hands shook. So we leave them. Or do we kill them? No, Marcus said. We find a cure. Bring them home. Zatel reached the fusion core too late. As he stormed inside, the humans were gone escaped into a stolen transport. Already pushing toward Earth, he screamed, firing his weapon into the walls, furious. Then he saw the countdown on the console. 004, 003. His eyes widened. No, ... 002, 001. The Sky Citadel exploded above Earth like a second sun. Debris scattered across the stars. Human satellites captured the moment. The place of death turned into light. On the ground, people looked up and cheered. They had no idea what the humans had found inside. Back at the underground bunker, Marcus stared at the children. A little boy named Jace looked up and smiled. We're safe now, he asked. Marcus nodded. Yes, for now. But in his mind, a question echoed. What happens when the memory virus wakes up? And far away, deep in space, a small ship floated undetected. Inside it, one last backup copy of the virus blinked in the dark. Still waiting. Beneath the ruins of what used to be Earth's Central Resistance bunker, silence hung like a storm cloud. The Sky Citadel was gone, destroyed by Elias and his team. Billions had watched the explosion live. Across Earth, people celebrated, believing the war was over. But deep below the surface, Marcus sat alone in the lab, staring at brain scans. Not of aliens, of children specifically. Of the 37 rescued from the Citadel, lines pulsed on the screen patterns no ordinary human brain should have. Strange glowing networks in their memory centers. He played a simulation. One flash of a certain symbol, and half the brain lit up like a machine coming online. It wasn't natural, and it wasn't human. A voice behind him whispered, "You were, right?" Nara stood at the doorway, her face pale. "It's not just memory implants, it's something worse." Marcus turned. "Explain." "They built a trigger," she said. "A kind of signal buried deep in the mind. It lies dormant until something activates its sound, image, a phrase. When that happens, the child forgets who they are and becomes a weapon." Marcus rubbed his eyes. "We saved them and brought a virus home." She sat beside him. "Elias wants to know, should we tell the others?" "No, not yet. We need time to isolate it. If we panic, they'll want to put the children down." A beat of silence passed. Then Marcus said something darker, or worse. To use them, elsewhere in the bunker, Elias watched the children play in a sealed section. They laughed, drew pictures, told stories. None of them seemed dangerous. Yet but one boy, Jay, sat alone, staring at the wall. He hadn't spoken in days. Elias approached him quietly. "You doing okay, kid?" Jace blinked slowly. "What's a storm machine?" Elias froze. "What?" Jace looked down. "I saw it in my dream. A tall tower made of black steel. Lightning. Wrapped around it, voices told me it would wake soon. And when it does, everyone burns." Elias crouched beside him. "That wasn't a dream, Jace. Someone put that in your mind." The boy looked up. "Who?" Elias didn't answer. He walked away quickly, heart pounding. That night, Marcus ran new simulations. The results were terrifying. The Velcor hadn't just planted one signal, They had seeded dozens each one, capable of waking the virus in different children. A song, a color, a word, even a specific smell could trigger the sleeper inside. Worse still, the virus was evolving. He opened the secure channel. "Elias, we have a problem." Elias appeared on the screen, eyes tired. "What now?" "The virus isn't just memory, it's self-aware. A nano-level AI riding inside the brain. It's watching us, learning from us, and I think it's spreading." "Are the kids showing symptoms?" Marcus hesitated. "Not all of them, but Jace is Elias cursed. You want me to isolate him?" "Yes, and you need to make sure no one gets too close." Elias nodded grimly and turned toward the playroom. But he was too late. Jace was gone. Security alarms blared moments later. Doors sealed. Guards searched every tunnel. Cameras rewound, revealing only static where Jace had been. Somehow, a 10-year-old child vanished from a sealed room beneath the earth. Hours passed, then a whisper came from the radio. "A boy anymore," one technician murmured, staring into the monitor. The screen showed Jace inside the armory. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't scared. He stood still, eyes glowing faintly blue, his hand placed on the main control terminal. "Accessing it, shut it down," Elias yelled. But the computer rejected every override. "It's rewriting itself," someone said. Marcus's voice cut in, cold and sharp. "That's not Jace anymore. That's the virus." They watched, horrified, as the boy's hands moved over the screen, faster than any human could. Codes appeared, defense turrets went offline. Doors opened in parts of the base that had been sealed since the early days of the war. "He's opening the vault," Elias whispered. Inside that vault was the last of the alien tech. Humans had captured things too dangerous to study, including something the Velcor once called the Seed of Collapse, weapon that destroyed planets by folding space inward. Jace, or whatever, was controlling him, was unlocking it. "We have minutes," Marcus warned. "If he activates that seed, everything within 10 miles disappears, including us." Elias ran, bursting into the vault chamber, gun drawn. Jace stood there, hand on a glowing black sphere, the weapon humming with dark energy. His eyes flickered human for a second, then went blank again. "Jace," Elias said carefully, "you don't have to do this." The boy tilted his head. "It's not me doing it. It's them. They're coming. Who? The rest. The others, like me." He smiled faintly. "Soon, we'll all wake up." Suddenly, Marcus's voice screamed through the radio. "The signal! We found it! It's coming from orbit. There's a Velcor satellite still active above Earth. It's triggering the virus." Elias didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, pulling Jace away from the sphere just as it pulsed bright. The light flashed, then vanished. Jace collapsed in his arms, unconscious. Behind him, the seed powered down. Across the bunker, children screamed and fainted as the virus lost its signal. The satellite had stopped broadcasting. For now, later, Marcus stood with Elias and Nara in the medical wing. "We stopped it this time," he said. "But that was just one signal. The Velcor probably left hundreds of these across space, waiting, hidden." Elias looked at Jace, who slept quietly in the recovery room. He said nothing because in his heart, he knew the war wasn't over. It was just changing. And the next battle wouldn't be fought in space or on alien worlds. It would be fought inside the minds of children. Let me know when you're ready for Part 8, where Earth's leaders try to weaponize the children. Resistance begins to fracture, and one of the kids disappears. Again, but this time, it isn't Jace. The sky above Earth looked peaceful, blue, quiet, but deep beneath its surface. Fear was growing. For days after Jace collapsed, the children remained unconscious. Doctors worked round the clock. Their heartbeats were steady, but their brains showed strange pattern spikes of electrical energy, like they were dreaming or communicating. Marcus reviewed the neural scans again. They weren't random. The patterns repeated, matched. "They're syncing," he whispered. Nara leaned over his shoulder with each other. He nodded like a hive. Elias stood silently by the glass window, watching the sleeping children. "So they're still infected?" "Yes," Marcus said, "but dormant. The orbital signal was like a key. We shut it down. But if another signal activates, we won't be able to stop them next time." Nara turned. "Then we destroy the children." "No," Elias said quickly. They're still human. This wasn't their choice. Nara stepped closer. You're thinking like a soldier. I'm thinking like a survivor. What if Jace had activated the seed? What if he had killed all of us? Elias's voice dropped. Then we were lucky. Silence filled the room. And then an alarm blared. A second child was missing. Not Jace this time. It was Suri, the quiet girl with the scar above her right eyebrow. Security footage showed her walking calmly down a corridor. At 3 a.m., unarmed. No emotion. No one saw her leave the room. The door didn't even open. She just appeared in the hallway. Marcus stared at the footage. That's not possible. Nara frowned. Teleportation. No, she phased through the wall. They searched every level of the base. But Suri was gone. 10 hours later, a transmission came through. It wasn't from Earth. It was from the edge of the solar system. A Velcor war, signal encrypted and ancient. But embedded inside was a message, a voice, Suri's voice. I remember. Everything now, it said. I remember the stars, the pain, the war. I was never yours. I was always theirs. And now, I'm going home. The transmission ended. Everyone in the war room stared at the screen. Nara spoke first. She's contacting the Velcor. No, Marcus said slowly. She is Velcor. What do you mean? They didn't just plant a virus in her mind, they transferred a consciousness. A full personality compressed into her brain. Suri was a carrier. Of something ancient, Elias slammed his fist on the table. We should have stopped this earlier. We couldn't, Marcus said. It's not a normal infection. This is resurrection. They're bringing themselves back to life inside us. Panic spread through the base. Earth's leaders called emergency meetings. The children were locked away in high-security chambers. Military personnel doubled at every entrance. And yet, the real threat wasn't outside. It was what they couldn't see inside. The medical bay. Jace woke up. He sat up slowly, looked around. His fingers trembled. He whispered, "She's gone." Elias walked in. "You're safe now." Jace shook his head. "No one's safe." Suri woke up first. "But there are others. Inside the others, pieces, ghosts. Ghosts. Velcor. Generals, scientists, or thinkers. They hid inside us. To survive, Elias's blood ran cold. How many? I don't know, but I feel them, watching. That night, a secret council of world leaders met underground. Video feeds flickered from bunkers across continents. The president of the Asian coalition leaned forward. "We need to weaponize them." Elias stiffened. "What? You heard me?" she said. "These children carry alien minds, alien powers. If we can control them, we win. Not just against the Velcor, against anyone." Nara frowned. "That's suicide." The African Union commander agreed. "This ends with another war, one we lose." But others powerful ones disagreed, and in the shadows of the bunker, someone was listening, someone human. But not entirely. Later, that night, Jace slipped away again. This time, no one stopped him. He walked to the cryochambers. Inside were the 36 other children, sealed in sleep. He placed a hand on the glass and whispered, "They're coming for you. Don't let them." Suddenly, a hand grabbed his shoulder. "Marcus, I should have known," Marcus said. "You're connected to them." Jace looked up, only a little. Marcus stared into the boy's eyes, but enough to know what's coming. Jace nodded. "The Velcor aren't the real danger anymore." "Then what is—" He whispered 2 words. "The betrayal." Marcus frowned. "What betrayal?" But Jace didn't answer, because behind them, another cryochamber hissed open, and a second child one who had never moved, never spoken, opened her eyes. They glowed silver, and she smiled. "Let me know when. You're ready for Part 9, where governments fight for control of the children." Civil war brews, and the truth behind the betrayal is finally revealed. Across the earth, alarms rang louder than ever before. It wasn't just about the children anymore. It was about power who controlled them, who studied them, and who could use them. After Suri's disappearance and the awakening of the silver-eyed girl, Lear, everything changed. Scientists gave up on calling it an infection. It was now an awakening. The children weren't just hosts, they were something new. Each nation demanded control over the other's carriers. Alliances cracked. Secret bases were attacked. Some children were moved, hidden, experimented on, others vanished, and someone was helping them escape. Inside the underground Earth Alliance War Council, voices shouted over one another. They are weapons, dangerous weapons. No, they're people, children. They carry the minds of the Velcor. How long until they turn against us? Elias stood at the head of the table. His voice cut through the noise. They won't turn. We already did that. Everyone stared. We betrayed them first, he said. We used them in war. We locked them away. We hurt them. They remember everything now. President Andrei of the European Defense Force leaned forward. So, what do you suggest, Captain Elias? Surrender. No, but we stop hunting them. We let them choose. Nara was silent. She had been quiet since Lyra awoke. Something about the girl's eyes disturbed her. They weren't just alien. They were calculating. Back at the secure facility, Marcus sat with Jace. The boy was stronger now, but distant. He rarely spoke unless asked, but he was always watching, listening. Marcus showed him a map. We've tracked Lyra to the Himalayas. Do you know why she's there? Jace nodded slowly. She's gathering, for what? For the others. They're waking up. All of them. The Velcor left seeds across the stars. Lyra can feel them. She's calling them home. Marcus's heart sank. We need to stop her. You can't, Jace said. Suddenly the lights flickered, then died. Sirens. Emergency lockdown. Elias burst into the room. They're here. Who? Not the kids. Soldiers, elite units sent by the Pan-Asian Alliance. Heavily armed. Masked. No insignia. They stormed the facility, searching rooms, taking children from cryochambers. They weren't arresting, they were stealing. Elias shouted, "Stand down. This is neutral ground." A captain stepped forward. By order of Supreme Directive 14, these children are assets of planetary defense. You are interfering with a global emergency. Guns were drawn, and then one of the children woke up. A boy named Kyo. Small, silent, fragile. He stood in the hallway as the soldiers approached. "Get him," one shouted, but Kyo raised a single hand, and the hallway bent. Metal walls warped like paper. Lights shattered. The air itself screamed, and when it was over, nothing remained but twisted steel and scorched marks where soldiers had stood. Marcus rushed to him. "Kyo, stop, don't do this." But the boy looked past him, his voice hollow. They started. Elias made a decision. We end this now. We get to Lyra before the others do. Within hours, their small T. Marcus, Elias, Nara, and Jace boarded a stealth craft and headed for the Himalayas. High in the freezing mountains, they found an old Velcor ruin buried in snow. Broken spires, ancient doors, symbols that hummed when touched inside. Children sat in silence around Lyra, at least 20 of them, awake, watching. Lyra stood as the team entered. Her silver eyes glowed. "You're too late." Elias stepped forward. "What are you doing here?" "We're remembering," she said. "We were left behind pieces of something larger. The war ended, but not for us. It's still inside us. Their memories, their anger. You don't have to be them," Marcus said. "You can choose." "I am choosing," Lyra whispered. "I choose to finish what they started." Jace stepped between them. "Lyra, don't." She looked at him sadly. "You don't feel it." "I do," he said, "but I'm still me." Lyra raised a small device, a shard of Velcor metal. It pulsed in her hand. "This is the last beacon," she said. "When I activate it, the real army will return." Elias drew his weapon. "Then we stop you." But Jace raised his hand. "Wait, and then?" Lyra lowered the beacon. Tears filled her eyes. "They lied to us," she said. "All of us, even the Velcor. I searched the memories. The war was started by them. They destroyed worlds, took children, lied. Then we can end it," Elias said softly. She looked at him. "No, because your people are no different. You would have used us the same way." Then she crushed the beacon in her hand, and the entire mountain began to shake. "What did you do?" Marcus cried. "I didn't call the Velcor," she said. "I called the others. Others. The ones who fought against them. The ones the Velcor feared. They're coming." Jace whispered. "You mean there's a third side?" Lyra nodded. "And they're not merciful." As the mountain cracked and the sky turned red, one thing became clear. The war wasn't over, had just begun. Let me know when you're ready for Part 10, where the third alien force arrives on Earth, must choose which side to fight for in a final, terrifying confrontation. The sky tore open like paper set on fire. Above the Himalayas, where the air was thin and the ruins of the Velcor temple still steamed from the crushed beacon, the clouds twisted into shapes no one could explain. Colors shimmered. Violet, deep blackhand. Then something stepped through. Not a ship, not a beam, a shadow. Elias looked up in silence. That's not the Velcor. Lyra stood still, her silver eyes watching the sky. No, it's the enemy, the Velcor. Feared most, what are they? Marcus whispered. She answered without turning. The ones who never forgot. The ones who survived the first war. A strange shape emerged in the sky, a floating structure made of pure light and bone-like metal, pulsing with energy. Beneath it hovered forms, tall beings of smoke and light, their heads crowned with rings of fire, their voices like broken music. Jace held his chest. They're speaking inside my head. Everyone went silent as a voice, cold and endless, filled the air. You are the lost blood, the broken line, the forgotten echo. You hold the seeds of destruction. The children behind Lyra collapsed to their knees. Some screamed, others just trembled. Lyra shouted, "Stop! They're not weapons!" But the voice ignored her. The Velcor failed. Their creations must be unmade. Suddenly, a bolt of pure energy lanced down from the sky and struck the ground near the ruins. A deep hole opened, glowing with molten heat. Something was rising. From it, something alive. Elias barked orders. "Retreat! Get the kids out!" "No," Lyra said. "If we run, they'll hunt us across the stars. We have to stand." "Stand against that?" Marcus asked. "We're just humans." Jace stepped forward, trembling but determined. "Maybe that's what matters. We're not just Velcor children. We're not their machines." Another voice echoed this time, familiar. Suri. Her image shimmered into view beside them. Projected from the remnants of a Velcor shard. "Jace," she said, "listen carefully. You are both. You carry human hearts and alien minds, but you are not broken. You are new." "Then how do we stop them?" he asked. "You don't," she said. "You show them." The enemy forms descended slowly. They surrounded the children, who stood together now, hands joined. Their eyes glowed, but not with war, not with anger, with memory. Lyra stepped forward. "We remember the pain, the lies, but we also remember kindness." She turned to Marcus. "We remember when you held us while we cried, when you told us stories, when you called us people." The shadows paused. Lyra looked up. "If you destroy US, you'll become what the Velcor were. You'll start the war again." The lead entity moved closer. It raised an arm-long, burning, terrifying. But Jace reached out hand, touched it. There was no explosion, no scream, only silence. And then, a wave of memory. Elias dropped to his knees, seeing visions, galaxies burning, children stolen, wars, fought in forgotten corners of the universe. But among the pain, there were sparks of hope, rebirth. "Peace," the entity's voice returned. "Softer now. You chose differently. This time, you chose mercy." And then, like smoke in the wind, the beings faded, the sky closed, the light vanished. Silence fell over the mountain. Marcus was the first to speak. Did we win?" Jace shook his head. "No, we changed the ending." Lyra walked to Elias. "You could have killed us. You didn't. That's why they stopped." He looked up at her, eyes tired. "What now?" "We rebuild," she said. "Not as weapons, not as hosts, as something new." Months passed. A new alliance was formed between nations and between humans and the awakened children. The Velcor ruins were studied, but no longer feared. The children were not soldiers, but students and leaders. Lyra became a symbol of unity. Jace helped build a school for the gifted. Elias retired. Finally at peace, Marcus continued his research. But now, with Hope. And Nara, she led the Council of Reconstruction, dedicated to keeping peace between Earth and the stars. One night, under a quiet sky, Jace stood on a hilltop, watching the stars. Lyra joined him. "Do you think they'll ever come back?" He nodded. "Someday. Are we ready?" He smiled. "We are now. because Earth had learned something powerful, that true terror was not war. Not powered. True terror was the moment you looked into your enemy's eyes and realized they were just like you. The end.